everybody? Welcome back to another extraordinary episode of the Viall Files Bachelor Recap Edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by Allie and Amanda and a man named Derek, who now officially has a microphone in his face.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
There you go. There's Derek. How are you ladies? How is everyone doing?
Good. Thriving.
Thriving?
Yeah.
Before we started this episode, our special guest, Jason Ritter.
Hello.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Hi.
It's so good to see you.
So
Welcome back.
It's
It's really good. It's really great to see you.
It's
man.
really great to see
You're
you
a comforting presence.
Yeah,
Oh,
just a
thanks,
good
thanks,
energy.
guys.
Yeah. We were talking about Guy Ferrari.
Fieri.
Fieri.
Yeah.
You
And
wanted to say Guy Ferrari so
I
badly.
did.
That's his brother.
And apparently he's a saint.
That's what I've heard. As far as I understand, the more I've looked into it, he's like an amazing person who I feel like, well, Flavortown is something he keeps talking about. I think
What is
I heard
Flavortown?
that Flavortown is a real place. Well, he's always like, let's go to Flavortown. And
Well, his restaurants are Flavortown, and then there's like a
They're
whole.
called Flavortown, or is that
I
just
think
like a
so.
motto?
I think it's like your happy
It's like, don't
mentality.
let life get you down. It's Flavortown.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
your
Like a
happy
state of
place,
mind,
go
yeah.
to your Flavortown.
Go to your-
yeah,
yeah, it's
everything
like
tastes good in Flavortown.
Flavortown, yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. Don't be sad. Go to Flavortown.
Now, I might be creating something, but like, is Flavortown a real place?
Yes.
Like Dollywood?
Yes.
You
Well,
know, like
so
he's created his own like
there's
amusement
Flavortown
park.
Kitchen.
Or Flavortown Kitchen.
It's like a
okay.
There's one in Vegas. I know this because I'm going to Vegas in May, and one of my friends is so obsessed with Guy Fieri that we had to add it to the agenda.
Oh yeah.
But there's a-
What part is she obsessed with? His charitable organizations?
I think
His
everything
hair?
from the personality to the frosted tips, like just like there are no flaws when it comes to her love for Guy.
He is authentically himself.
That's true.
Every
really is.
single
Yeah.
day he wakes up and chooses to
He
be
is.
Chooses
them.
flavor.
He is on brand.
Yeah.
He absolutely is. And it's funny because it's like, you know how there are some like poison frogs in the wild that like have a certain thing that's like, don't get near me or what, like predators. That was what his general vibe did to me at first. Like I was like, I don't think we're similar. But then the more I found out about what's underneath all of that, the more
The bleach blonde hair
appreciate it.
and this,
Yeah.
the Oakley glasses.
Generally, I see frosted tips out in the wild and I go,
Red flag.
uh-uh.
Yeah.
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 Is that your favorite? Do people have other favorite celebrity chefs? Because I feel like it's such a like niche topic. Is it as big as it felt when I was a kid? When like it was
Celebrity
like Gordon
chefs?
Ramsay, like
Oh, yeah.
Hell's Kitchen, like all that stuff felt like it was in his like heyday.
Who's the blonde British guy?
Naked Chef.
who used to be mean?
Jamie Oliver?
Jamie
No.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Jamie Oliver. I first time I was in New York, I was 28. We got to go to David Letterman, and he was one of the guests on the show.
He seems like a cool.
Wow. Who was the other
person.
guest?
Ben Affleck.
Oh.
Never heard of him again.
Yeah.
No,
And
he's-
Justin Bieber was the musical guest. And I
wow.
remember,
Holy cow.
I remember at the time we got offered these tickets. You know, we stayed in Times Square. Like it was my
Oh
first
my
time in
gosh,
New York.
that's
It was
amazing.
like very touristy.
That's so cool.
And I was like, oh, who's the musical guest? They're like, oh, it's Justin Bieber. This was back in 2008.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
2007
So he
ish.
was a
So like I
little-
knew who Justin Bieber was. And they're like, oh, yesterday was Michael Bublé. I was like, oh man, that would have been cool. Like,
yeah. Now
you
I
know,
got some YouTube
now
guy.
I got some like kid. And then I remember he came out. And I was like, this motherfucker can dance and sing.
Yeah.
I was very taken back by the Biebs.
Did you see that document or, like Never Say Never? Or
I have not
something?
seen it.
Oh, well, as a person who doesn't know a lot about Justin Bieber, it was the first time that I had seen like some of his young videos where he's 11 or 12 and
Mhm.
he's like a very, very good singer, very talented
Very-
young man.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, wait, who's the guy? I think he's nicer now, but he would yell at.
Gordon Ramsay.
Is that
Oh,
Gordon Ramsay?
yeah,
Where he's
Gordon
like,
Ramsay.
idiot sandwich.
I like
Oh,
Gordon
yeah.
Ramsay.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like you have a similar approach to Gordon Ramsay with when it comes to relationship advice, like tough but fair.
Sure, yeah. I think he was a little more toxic in his
Sure.
heyday.
He had a bit more
Yeah.
flair.
A little bit more flair. I think he's toned it down though.
I feel like the way you were with the
way
caller
Nick's
on the
eyes
Raven
just bugged
episode
out was-
you're like, what the fuck
Well,
are you
my
favorite.
employees are telling me I have a similar
Thing is
toxic
Gordon Ramsay.
style to Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, no, that was a little concerning. Yeah.
It's just the screaming.
Yeah.
It's just the screaming.
Yeah,
the
That's all it
intensity.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the fear instilled in everyone's heart the second you walk in the door.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I do know I can make people feel uncomfortable by saying nothing.
Yeah, that is a superpower that I have yet to harness. Because I will fill any silence with something.
Yep.
But there is power in just keeping quiet. It's just impossible for me.
That's okay.
I agree.
You have wonderful characteristics. Anything else new in life before we dive into the Bachelor world?
No, not really. Our daughter's starting school. That's a very exciting thing, and yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, and also kind of like I feel a bit weird about the fact that she's going to be somewhere else for most of the day. I'll be like, what did we do? What did I do?
You getting worried?
Yeah, what did I do when I was by myself? Or
That's
when we
endearing.
were alone, when we had all this time. There's gonna be no one to play with, so I'm gonna have to figure out.
You need a new buddy.
I need a
Jason,
new buddy.
I am available.
Okay, cool.
In
We
case
got
you
some
need-
blocks. We got all sorts of stuff.
I could use a play date. Honestly,
Let's do
I'm
it.
not kidding.
Let's do it.
I'm a routine guy. I love a good routine, and I think it's really important to start your day out right. And that's why I start out my day with AG1 by Athletic Greens, because there are so many great nutrients in this drink. It tastes great. I'm supporting my gut health. Gut health, I know you've heard us talk about this before, but it's literally your second brain. If your gut is healthy, your body is healthy. Your mind is healthier when your gut is healthy. Your digestive system's better. Your skin's better when you're taking care of your gut health. And AG1 is doing great things for people's hair, people's skin, their overall well-being, and it tastes great. It's like a delicious, tasty drink. And if you're someone who just knows they need to hydrate more, like me, and it gets a little bored with water, like me, find a delicious, healthy drink like AG1 by Athletic Greens that is not full of sugar, because there's a crazy how many quote-unquote healthy fruit, vitamin, or vegetable-filled drinks that if you turn back the label, they have as much sugar as soda.
And I also like that it's easy to do, because I myself, I feel like I'm always running out the door. It's hard to prioritize yourself. So if you have a super long regimen, I'm just not going to do it. And I feel like this is one of the healthiest things you can do in under a minute. You put a scoop in water, you stir it up, you drink it, you're set.
AG1 is powerful because it's so easy to fit into your lifestyle. It is true. I mean, it's just it's just powder, water, stir, drink, health.
Nailed it.
If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/Viall Files. Go to athleticgreens.com/VIALLFILES. That's athleticgreens.com/Viall Files. Check it out. Well, I went to Miami this weekend, and thank God for Z-Biotics, because I felt refreshed the entire week. I'm not someone who partakes in the consumption of alcohol that often, but when I do, I like to make sure that I don't have to pay for it.
That is the worst, when you have a fun Friday night out and then Saturday is ruined, or you're just waking up feeling kind of groggy. I am notorious for booking myself Pilates classes. I cannot cancel early in the morning on the weekends. And I think Z-Biotics is awesome because it just means I wake up feeling refreshed. I'm not having a rough morning, and I'm kicking butt on that reformer.
And Z-Biotics just works so well with any sort of fun night routines you might have. Just make it your first drink of the night, and then you'll automatically have a better tomorrow. It was engineered by a team of PhD microbiologists, so it's actually a drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol, which is responsible for those rough mornings or those missed Pilates classes.
It's designed to work exactly like your liver, but this is happening in your gut where you need it most. And so it's you're not in college anymore. You drink responsibly in all contexts, and this is just another way to be responsible about your own health.
Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into toxic byproducts in your gut. It's the byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your next rough day. So, Z-Biotic produces an enzymes to break this byproduct down and helping you feel better throughout the next day. So give Z-Biotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/VIALL to get 15% off your first order when you use code VIALL at checkout. So listen, if you are someone who likes to indulge in some beverages and have a good time, and you're just tired of feeling crappy, you have no reason not to try. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/VIALL and use code VIALL at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode. Couple housekeeping notes before we get into the episode. Francesca Farrago.
She's one of the Netflix elites.
Oh, is
she has gone from show to show.
Well, now she's on Perfect Match. Great show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I want to see that.
It's good. It's good. We'll be talking with her, covering that on this week on Going Deeper on Thursday. If you haven't checked out the Raven episode, be sure to check it out. Almost everyone listened to it. Yeah. Almost over 8, closing on 1 million people listened to that episode, Jason.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Dang,
Their best
that's
episode
amazing.
ever.
Well, now this one.
This will definitely be the episode. But if you like tea, not that anyone, I was about to say if you like stories about getting cheated on. No. But I think we really appreciate Raven. She really stepped up and shared her truth, and it wasn't easy for her. And I know she appreciates all the love you're sending her way. And I'd love to see more of that and less kind of any hatred directed towards anyone else. Not that we're Team SK or anything like that, but the love is blind.
I saw.
It was wild stuff.
That was wild stuff, and I
most people aren't as generous with the truth as Raven was.
She seems. Throughout that whole season, I was like, this person is amazing. Like, she really clocked. I don't know. She, for someone who works that hard on their body, and she didn't seem to have that extended outwards to other people. A lot of times people who work very hard on their body are very judgmental or weird or something.
Yeah.
And she just was like, no, this is for me, and I don't appreciate when. I liked it when she was with Bartise in the beginning. She was like, "This is not enough to build a relationship on."
Quickly called him
Totally.
out,
And I just the whole time I thought SK and her relationship was so wonderful. For
I know.
her.
I was like super into that relationship at the time, but
yeah, bummer.
Infidelity, it's a crazy and horrible thing, and it's an interesting discussion to why people do what they do and whatever trauma they might have from the past, or
For sure.
who knows. But
I feel like we also have this societal narrative that it's like, they cheat, you leave right away. And I think it's like interesting. I think that's really reductive. And I think it creates like a lot of, like, in my own experience, it created the sense of like shame. And like at a time when I most needed to confide in friends and feel understood, having this like, oh, well, if I'm not going to do the right thing, so to speak, then like I should be kind of embarrassed. And it just like filtered what I would share. And I think with Raven, it was so special to hear someone be like truly honest about how many competing sides there are, how there's not only this hurt, but there's this desire to like salvage and like confusion.
Well,
It's
you
really
wanna...
beautiful to be that honest and not just to be like, this is my experience for better or for worse, and it can't quite be put in like a neat, tidy little box.
Well, yeah, because nowadays it's like, anyone who lies or manipulates or, let's say cheats in this world, they're a narcissist. They're this or that. Where like things aren't as black or white. It's not an excuse, but like maybe they have some unresolved trauma or whatever they're doing, and they're projecting it in a very toxic and hurtful way, not only to themselves but the people they say they care for. And so depending on how, to Amanda's point, when stuff like this comes out, it's a process, and people need to work through those emotions. I mean, when you find out stuff like this is happening, you can be in a state of shock, I think, for some people.
Absolutely.
And so they have to work through some of those emotions.
That's how you grow.
Yeah.
And I mean, from afar, I would imagine that SK is just like kicking himself and like, how did I do that? I don't know.
You hope.
Right. And this is something that he'll have to go through and be accountable for his actions. And hopefully it's an impetus for change, in his life. And he grows from this, and he doesn't continue. It's one thing when this is like a repeated pattern for someone, and they never grow and they never change and they never.
Yeah, they could make we can all make excuses for certain choices.
Yes,
or you
exactly.
can like say like these decisions I made affected a lot of people, and I need to do something about it before I keep having this pattern.
Yeah, but there's a real like fear of accountability in general. Like, people are so nervous about being accountable that they'll be like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Especially in situations where you're not the main offender.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're like an accomplice, like a friend. We actually had a caller on the Raven episode for our texting office hours. Her friend was cheating on her boyfriend, and it's been an interesting discussion where a lot of people just like, oh well, people are quick to separate themselves from any any wrongdoing, and it's just like, well, it's not really my business. People are quick to like mention how things aren't their business when it doesn't serve them well, or things like that. And I was thinking about that with the Raven episode too, because what I was so grateful for Raven sharing is that I think when it comes to infidelity, people do feel really alone, because part of it is the shame and the embarrassment of having been cheated on. So a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and which is totally understandable. You don't want to not everything that happens in your world you need to, whether you're a public figure or not, you need to share with everyone. You have to make sure that you're telling the right people, or people who can support whatever it is you're trying to do. Maybe you're working through therapy or whatever, but so many people just don't talk about it and put it out there. And with Raven doing, it was just nice to see so many comments from people who've experienced, similar situations or infidelity at all, to feel like they're not alone. Because I think when you are cheated on, it's a very lonely feeling, because very few people are out there waving their hand saying, I'm like this too. This has happened to me.
Yeah.
And not that everyone needs to, but when someone like Raven shares that, I think it's very uplifting for a lot of people.
Absolutely. One, and also it's like, I think one of the things that we can do if someone has cheated on us is we can think, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? And so often it is just something in the other person's mind. It's not a deficiency of character or of beauty, even though it's their fault. There's like, well, what's wrong with me that I wasn't enough?
Yeah, it's weird. You can think, oh, well, I know this is not my fault, but like the ego still creeps in.
Yeah,
and you can still feel like, well, if I could have done this, or why wasn't this enough, or yada, yada, yada. But you're right. It's truly just a flaw in the people who cheat, and a very kind of, to oversimplify, kind of toxic reaction to whatever they're experiencing internally.
Right.
And they kind of do these things, whether it's a need for attention, whether it's, a million different things. But it's a very tricky topic and situation. But we appreciate Raven a lot.
Yeah, that was a devastating finale.
Yeah.
Moment.
Anyway, let's get into it.
All right.
Let's start with some Bachelor Tea. Erich Schwer is dating. I think the last time we talked about Erich Schwer, he was saying that he was ready to date but was taking it slow. So maybe that was just him easing us into the fact that he is dating model Elizabeth Turner. And they posted on Valentine's Day, they posted a Polaroid, and the caption just said Valentine. And then there was also a photo of Elizabeth kissing him on the cheek. And so, happily in a relationship.
Good
3
for
months
him.
after Gabi.
Sometimes you post a picture of your friend and you put Valentine underneath. And
Or do you kiss your friends?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
No.
It sounds like Eric's doing well on the rebound,
Yeah.
That makes me feel like also Valentine should be a separate relationship status before you like define the relationship, because I do feel like we're at this void where there's so many situationships in today's day and age, or people are just like dating for longer, and I do feel like we need a word for like, we don't have anything, like we're not boyfriend girlfriend, there's no kind of like discussion of exclusivity, but we're clearly each other's like central focus, like you're Valentine.
I feel like I've heard
star
of
player on the
multiple couples this year that I know or like have seen posted online have asked each other to be their Valentine, despite exclusively dating. Some of them are even married. Like people are just throwing it in as like an extra
like
step.
a prom
I don't think anyone
Yeah.
in situationships though are I think they're avoiding Valentine.
Well, but that's what I'm saying though. Like we need there are all these intermediary ways to be entangled with someone that's not in an exclusive relationship.
Yeah.
Exemplified by situationships.
Gotcha.
And then Valentine's Day becomes a sort of a point of like, let's talk about what this is.
Yeah.
And, a lot of
So
coming
now that you're
closer
my
together
Valentine.
or breaking up.
That was one of my
around
favorite things
Valentine's
about COVID was like you could get really honest really quickly about if you were seeing other people, because it was like, am I being exposed to other
right.
people?
You need
like
to.
we need to have an open conversation about this, and it's really fucked up if you lie to me, because like this is about like health and safety.
Absolutely.
Rocked.
How big is your bubble?
It rocked.
I still think people lied.
That's fucked up.
I luckily was just alone. I was so paranoid. I think one of my first forays out into the world after COVID was your podcast.
What, really?
And I was so super nervous.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
And I wore a mask and then I took it off and I was like, I think I'm okay. Very, very scary time.
Well, you're here.
And now I'm here.
All right.
Love that.
And we have an episode all about it.
There we go.
Yeah. Final thing, there were some rumors going around that Chris Harrison might be brought back to host The Bachelor due to dwindling ratings and that ABC was thinking about it. Since then, ABC has denied considering rehiring Chris as the host. But I did think it was interesting. Ari actually tweeted back to one of the rumors saying, could this be true? May have to watch again if so. And also he posted what looked like Lauren was almost filming like a confessional style setup and tagged ABC Network in it.
Who knows?
So I just thought it was interesting that they're working with ABC, and then he's tweeting back saying like maybe he'll start watching the show if Chris comes back. So
Yeah,
I don't know how
think
close
there's
Ari
anything
and
there.
Chris.
I have no idea. And I don't think it's a coincidence that it got out, is all I'm saying. You know, when stories like this get out, I think it's behooves you to think who benefits from this leak the
like
most.
testing the waters, do you think? There was some kind of sort of like...
Well, listen, like, no one watches The Bachelor for the host. No one ever watched The Bachelor for Chris Harrison. Ever.
Yeah.
Never.
And never. And that's not a criticism to Chris Harrison. There's like, all he does is come out and tell you how, like, he counts for you. And when they replace Chris with Jesse, Jesse's a great host. He is literally a Chris replacement.
Right.
If they wanted to have the host be more of a part of their show, if they wanted to be someone that they marketed to their audience as a reason to watch, they would have found a way to keep Caitlyn and Tayshia, or they would maybe think to like have one of their alumni who's more of a prominent character on their show, like a Wells or whatever.
Oh, right.
Or they would have done something to mix it up, but they didn't. They picked, in this, again, not a criticism to Jesse, the most kind of closest thing to Chris. And he's just the host. He's there to facilitate and like drive the story forward. Yeah, they would once in a while sit down and offer like quote unquote advice. Jesse during Clayton's season was kind of like, hey man, you want to talk about it? And then Clayton would say some things and Jesse would be like, oh, that sucks. Well, good luck. Like,
yeah, they can't like alter the course of, they're just trying to be a sort of a sounding board, but it's not necessarily like,
And it's so stupid because like, again, like, here's the thing about The Bachelor. It's been around for so long, forever. And people age out. They just age out. With this show, our show has only gotten bigger and bigger. But there's a lot of people, I'm sure, who used to listen to the show who no longer do. We get new audience and subscribers to the show every day.
Right.
I'm sure we lose followers every day. And it's always funny when people talk about how like, oh, the ratings. It's like, just because you aged out of the show, like, doesn't mean no one cares about it anymore.
Right.
And I think people like, especially if they're a journalist or a writer in the pop culture space, like once you decide that like this show no longer serves you, because listen, it's the same fucking show every season.
Right.
And like it would make sense that after a while you might get like bachelor fatigue and burnout and just like maybe this isn't for you anymore. Maybe you started watching it when you're 18 and you watched every season till you're like 26, 27 and now it's not your thing, which is totally fine.
Totally
but people
fine.
act like just because they've aged out of the show that it no longer is a good show and people don't enjoy it.
They act like they are a father walking out on their family, being like, I am going to leave and
I'm
not
leaving,
watch this
and I'm
again.
not coming back.
It's like as if there will be this devastating hole in Bachelor Nation.
And they
Where's
act like
Jerry?
everyone's gonna follow them because they're done with it, and now they like always will cite the ratings. It's just like people, the Nielsen ratings or whatever it was are meaningless nowadays. Like they still exist, but they don't really tell you anything. More and more people are watching The Bachelor on Hulu, not live.
Right.
People have always watched the show like in kind of groups or watch parties. All I know is that the show, The Bachelor, is making, I said this last week or the week before, ABC and Warner Brothers more money than any other show that they have, and it's not even close.
Huge.
The show's not going anywhere, and just because you've stopped watching it, like people are just making a big deal. Like I've never seen so many articles about a show doing poorly, and yet you know what I'm saying. But like yet there's. Every season, there's always these new articles about like the demise of the franchise, and yet it doesn't go anywhere. And they keep like bringing on new shows. Now they have Bachelor Senior, they're gonna do but people
are they? I've seen trailers for Bachelor Senior, and I'm so excited. Do they keep dying or what?
Yeah, that's what.
Well, I think they started advertising it during COVID.
It was before COVID.
Yeah. And we had to
That's
keep
why it's
those
a
older
big
people
wrench.
safe.
Okay,
Yeah.
COVID put a big wrench in it.
I really want to see
Do they
that.
keep
Also, couldn't they
dying?
just like go to a nursing home? Like I feel like there is already I feel like nursing homes are infamous for the love triangles, the drama, sex that's happening.
Yeah.
The sex.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of
people
sex. With
fucking?
Viagra and stuff, I think it's there's no
Wow.
longer a...
But even like this show, our Bachelor recaps have never been more popular. So it's like clearly people aren't watching it less. It's just such a silly narrative. I think it just speaks to the success of the show because people, when they're not watching it, want to find ways to
faulted or
criticize or whatever.
Yeah.
And the show clearly has flaws, but it's just like Jesse, they love Jesse.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. And Jesse replacing Chris, it would it bring back 20, 25, 50, OG Bachelor fans who
But
deci-
even
no one stopped watching it because Chris Harrison got fired.
I know. It's such a strange. There was no big clamoring of no, the shows will change.
It's different. It's
it was so super fun with Tayshia and Caitlin, and Jesse's doing fine, and there's no
Chris-
need to go backwards.
Right.
just like this episode where Jesse kind of had that pointless comment to Kaity about her being a nurse.
I'm sorry, aren't there 12 of nurses?
I know.
Chris had the same-
Why was
there's a lot of
Kaity
them.
selected?
This is a damn traveling hospital.
Chris would say the same things too. It's just and again, thank you for all the nurses out there and what you've done on the front lines during the pandemic. But when he was like, Kaity, you're a nurse, you know how serious this is, as if Kaity needed to relay the message to the rest of the women
Of how serious
of
COVID
how
is.
serious is the COVID is. I'm like, we literally lived through a pandemic. If you don't know
By now,
that it's a serious thing, I don't know if Katie's going to be able to relay that message. They probably just got told to say it. They're not the focus of the show. They never have been. They deliberately don't want their host to be the focus of the show. People aren't tuning in to watch the host. It's a deliberate attempt on the show. So no host is saving the show.
yeah, it's a strange. There's no reason to be having the argument in the first place.
Do you think
But I
it's
do think
coming
it's-
from Chris Harrison's camp?
I don't. I think on stories like these, you always want to ask yourself, who does it serve the most?
I do feel like
Yeah.
it's a friend who's it would be crazy if I got another round of drinks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's me. I
it
am
would be
the friend.
crazy.
Yeah.
Someone tell me I shouldn't. Someone tell me I shouldn't.
Exactly.
Maybe there's another show. He's, he could be hosting something else.
What if he goes back to
Yeah.
HGTV?
Sure.
Maybe. I mean,
His
eventually, I
stomping
think
grounds.
Chris is going to get work as a host
Yeah.
somewhere. Eventually.
Yeah. I don't think The Bachelor needs
What's
to be
so funny about that?
saving Chris Harrison.
Eventually.
That's so fair. He's a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, he's probably having a certain amount of fun, enjoying his time. He can travel and spend some of the money he undoubtedly made over however many.
Yeah.
Well, his payout to not come back was at least 10 mil or something.
Well, that too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably just all right.
Well,
Podcasting,
lawyers got 30 or
thriving.
40% of that, and the government got another
There you go.
big chunk of that.
Oh,
That's true.
poor Chris.
I feel like he's just going to come back and surprise host the Senior Bachelor. They're just hyping him up.
Oh, see, that would be fun.
Can you imagine the Senior Bachelor, the shit they would turn up?
Oh my God.
Of we're already seeing stuff from people who were in the kids in the 90s.
So you tweeted in the 1940s that
I'm sorry, I actually can't say any of these words on national television.
You called your best friend a what?
we found these old missives in your basement, and that's the only.
Now, when you were in the war,
Yeah, exactly.
I just pray that they do final bingo balls instead of final roses.
Oh, that would be cute.
Derek, can we get a sound effect? For
or
that great
the
joke?
roses are just dried.
Nicely done.
Perfect.
Wow.
All right, let's. Anyway, Chris is not going to be the Bachelor, the host of the Bachelor, anytime soon.
Well,
Is my prediction. I feel.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we get into the
He's
episode?
not dead.
To us.
To you, I guess.
The old Chris can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because he's dead.
Chris's version.
Anyway, so Tea.
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 Everyone wanted to do an accent.
Oh yeah.
Everyone thought they were
Everybody.
good at it.
Yeah.
Can you do the rest of the episode? And you
I was
are
actually
good at
going to insist that we all do a little accent
Ooh.
off and have
Ooh.
people vote in the comments for who is the worst.
it. I already know.
I certainly. When we were watching the episode last night, Melanie was like, "So Americans just do this, huh? They just like go for the accent,
Yeah.
just no matter what." There's
Is Melanie not American?
no, she's from New Zealand. She just can do a perfect American accent, but it's very
Why would I
surprising
not
to
know
a lot of because you haven't met her in person yet. But yeah, all of her like roles, she's always playing an American. But it is fun, and I have seen it like when she's like, "Oh, I'm from New Zealand," they're like, "Oh, you know,
No, Americans do that.
Good night. It's like, that's Australia.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, especially Australia. Yeah,
It's
there's
like,
just like,
okay.
let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Everyone
And I
loves
was
a
like,
good-
yes, we do that.
Yeah.
We do.
We are the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
We are the problem.
Anyway, so they go to London.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone's excited. Greer is hoping
For tea.
for tea.
Yeah,
Tattoo of tea.
yeah, she loves tea.
I'm convinced that tattoo of a teacup that Greer has that she sold to a Bachelor Nation is how much she loves tea. She went to one of those she went to a party where they had a
Stick and poke.
they had a tattoo artist doing like super small tattoos, and she's like, should I get my first tattoo? Should I do it, guys?
She's like, nobody tell me to get a teacup tattooed on my wrist. Nobody tell me to do that.
And the tattoo artist had like a sheet of all these different tattoos he could do that were really
Yeah.
small, and she went teacup. And it was
Yeah.
probably at the time coffee. And she would talk about how much she liked coffee, and now she's convincing us that it's tea. I'm convinced
it
that
could
that's
be.
what that is.
I mean, it's interesting. I never thought about the moments leading up to her getting that tattoo, or if it's something that she just. I mean, well, she seemed to say that there was something like it was a thing in her family, right? Like
Yeah.
a calming
I
thing in
guess.
her
Yeah,
family.
like
Yeah.
a ritual. Like they all drank tea
They
together.
drank tea.
So maybe
as a
they
group.
came out of a horrible period of
She's
time,
from
and tea
Texas.
like saved them.
Yeah, she missed her parents while she was living in like New York or wherever, cosmopolitan somewhere.
Yeah,
I think she's making it up.
But that is kind of, it is interesting to be like, have such a versatile tattoo and to tell people different things are in it. Be
What
like,
if she
"There's
just
vodka
loves
in there."
gossip?
Yeah,
She's like, need some
exactly.
tea.
Yeah.
Give me the tea.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
could be that.
versatile tattoo.
She and her
It's
like
very-
college girlfriends were like, spill the tea, sis.
Yeah.
All got it on
And
a
they
wrist.
like had a little move where they like spilled it.
Oh my God. The wrist.
Yeah, you could just be like,
We figured it out.
Brilliant secret handshake.
yeah, exactly. Every handshake spills the tea.
So what's her? Gabi finally gets a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Does this not? Is Gabi not the winner?
Yeah, she
Gabi's
was.
wifey.
The last two people who got this date
Yeah.
were Susie and Rachel Kirkconnell.
Oh wow.
It's telling.
It is telling.
mean,
Well,
yeah.
also like Greer, like this episode, yeah, obviously it wasn't her best moment. She didn't really do anything wrong, but she was obnoxious. And it's like the whole time she was like, "This is my dream date." I'm like, "This is the Bachelor dream date. This is it. This is everyone's dream date."
Right.
To be pampered
Come
and
home with all
taking
the
out
stuff, man.
on a shopping spree and get all the gifts. and then
Signature scent.
treated like a princess, and like that is
Right.
everyone's favorite date. And Greer's acting as if like no, like this is my date. I've dreamt this. Like none of you would appreciate this as much as I would.
Right.
And I'm just like, there's not a single person in this room who's not thinking, oh my
That would have been nice.
this would have been nice. Like
Yeah.
I would have liked this.
I always am surprised. Every once in a while, there's like a person on the show who it feels like they have never seen the show, or they don't understand that like other dates happen and it's awkward, and that like that jealousy feelings are gonna come up. They're always like, "How could he do this to me?" And it's like, well, these are the rules.
These
He
are-
has to do this.
What I really loved about this dynamic between Gabi and Greer, Gabi has her celebrity comp, Sandra Bullock.
Interesting.
Like
Okay.
similar?
Like
I'm
similar,
not saying she looks like her.
energy?
I mean, they have brown hair, so there's that. But like, yeah, the spunk, and like obviously Gabi's a very beautiful person, but she's more on the kind of cute, kind of like fun, quirky
Mhm.
side. I think she has a Sandra Bullock kind of energy to her.
I can see that.
And I think when you kind of juxtaposition it with Greer I think kind of comes across as the more kind of like Greer was the popular girl in high school. And I feel like Gabi, I'm sure, had plenty of friends, you know?
Yeah.
Really, I feel like Greer was like that stunning girl on like the competitive math team.
Why do you think she was on the math team?
I think she was like smart and kind of
I'm sure she
nerdy in
is
high
smart.
school, and
No, I
like
don't think she was nerdy at all.
I think she
Really?
grew into
You think
like
Greer was nerdy?
a hot girl persona.
I don't know if
Yeah.
Greer was like Queen Bee in high school.
I got a very.
I think she
sort
had
of-
plenty of friends.
I think
I
she
bet
had
she
good.
just said that
I
about
think she
Gabi,
had
too.
good
There's a
friends.
difference.
I mean, like she was particular. I think Greer was an alpha in high school. I think she was.
I think Greer was like media, like had enough friends to
Yeah.
get by in high school. Like
she was like
also very
treasurer
smart,
of the grade.
I get
not
that
and then went to
too. Not like
college.
Queen Bee. Yeah.
and then was and then it was like everybody fucking loved her. She was super fun and social.
Oh,
and
maybe.
then
I just feel like it was just you never felt bad for Greer in this. I never did. Like it was just you just were happy for Gabi. I thought it was kind of crazy how Gabi was able to on camera like enjoy the date, enjoy the shopping spree, and not come across as like rubbing it in anyone's face, even Greer. And it's like you just wanted Greer to shut the fuck up.
Gabi did really do a good job of like, even when Greer left, she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not trying to brag." She felt awkward that she knew what it would look like coming back with all the bags, and she did as good as she could. And then it was just unfortunate they happened to
also
be camped out outside her door.
Appreciated
sorry, I
her
actually have
on
to
the
get in
date,
here.
but even on the date, like when again she didn't have to do the flag of like, oh, am I being too much or am I bragging? I appreciated that even on the date, it wasn't egotistical of, oh, I deserve this, but it also wasn't. What? Like over the top of
She
how
just
could this
enjoyed it. She's like,
possibly
how
happen?
could I
Yeah, it was
possibly-
just
She was
fun.
so sweet.
She
It was
really-
just fun.
She did a great job.
Yeah.
And I also liked like early on in the season there were like a couple like super awkward moments with Gabi. Initially.
Yeah.
And I
Can I
just
call
was
you
like, as she was
Zachary or
nervous-
whatever?
Zachariah.
Yeah.
No, she's
Yeah.
a. She's
And
a,
I love
she's-
that too.
She's a goofball.
Yeah.
What do I not that my opinion matters at all. Of all the dresses that Gabi tried on, my least favorite was the one that he seemed to pick for Gabi.
That final big blue one.
The show was edited as if like Zach essentially picked out the dress for Gabi. Like, oh, that's the one. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how it all went down, but I thought she looked better than the other ones. I don't know. I didn't really. What did you ladies think of the puffy, lacy blue dress compared to the other ones that she tried on? for
Please
Zach?
tell us how you feel about it because it's not clear at all. The
What?
puffy, lacy blue.
Yeah,
It's just not your style, but I think it was the most unique out of all of them.
I
The
think-
other ones are more streamlined. They're more like
so you
I would
liked it.
I loved it.
I thought it was
looked
unique.
stunning on her.
Yeah.
I thought the neckline was really flattering. I
Mhm.
thought like the blue with her hair looked awesome.
Okay.
Like I thought it was like very, and I agree with Allie where it was like very like it's situationally
Mhm.
appropriate.
Looked
Like
an
a
80s
lot
prom
of
dress.
No, Nick.
I disagree.
With the plunging V and no sleeves? What
Yeah.
80s were you living?
Well, I mean, again, I don't, it's just one man's opinion. I thought you liked better than the other ones. I don't know. Wasn't my fave.
Well, there was like a sparkly one, and then
No. There was like
Yeah.
a
Can't
yellow
remember the other
goldish one. I liked that one.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think the best part was it was clear to me that when Gabi walked in with all the bags of stuff, like they literally just handed her a bag of like stuff.
Yeah, she
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
know
She
what
had
they
no-
were.
She had no fucking clue what's
Yes.
inside. Because when she was opening up, she was literally going, "Oh, these are cute." Like
Yeah,
it was
that's
clearly
true.
the first time she was seeing all this stuff along
Yeah.
with the women. She didn't go out and shop.
and the
pick-
dress wasn't even part of that because
No.
that dress came
They
later.
literally
so
just handed her a bag of
these
shit
things.
and said, "Walk
this
in
will
with
drive
all."
them crazy.
Walk in with all this stuff and then open it up in front of them. They just basically got gifted a bunch of stuff and then
Oh,
had
gosh.
Gabi open it up in front of the women, which I thought was pretty great.
Kaity
They're like, you
did a
can
good
only
job of-
keep what you open in front of the other girls.
Right.
Yeah,
Something
right.
like fucked up like that.
Exactly.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Please
No,
go
no, no.
ahead.
No, I just was saying Kaity was super sweet in all of that. Like maybe because she's more confident in her relationship with him, but she was able to sort of enjoy Gabi's happiness in that moment, and it hit a lot of the other ladies.
Well, I mean, you're getting to that point of the season where I know we saw a clip from last week where Jess is like, I'm mad I don't have a one-on-one, and Zach's like, it's not about a one-on-one, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it kind of is.
yeah.
I mean, a one-on-one in this world is everything. It's the golden
Yeah.
ticket. It's like it's where relationships actually form.
grow.
You know,
and-
everyone in this house, when they see someone go on a one-on-one, they see them come back literally a changed person.
Yeah, feeling happy,
Feeling happy,
validated.
talking how they got to know him and vice versa, and they have a whole different perspective. Like, that's where it all forms. And if you don't get a one-on-one, you don't have a shot, you know? And
Yeah.
so, you know, you're getting to that point of the season where it's like half the women there have all had one-on-ones and half are just like, okay, I'm another
Yeah.
group date. And so
Yeah,
it's
a bad
normal.
feeling.
It's a normal feeling for the Greers and the Jesses of the world and the Ariels and who else? Is that all we have left?
I think
It's
they've
intimate.
all had a one. Oh, Charity's
Well,
one.
Kylie and Mercedes, who, you know,
Oh yeah.
they all, yeah, it's kind of like, what's the point of me being here? And so they realize next week is like week 6 is when the usually the second one-on-ones can start happening. Like like week 6 is when I got my second one-on-one in Andy's season, and that was before a couple guys had a one-on-one, and obviously that didn't go over well
Oh,
for
right,
me,
right.
you know, and stuff like that. So next week it'll be interesting. Does Ariel get a one-on-one? Does Jess?
Jess has to. There's something.
I don't think she just does.
Wait,
There's
Jess?
something with Zach and Jess.
They showed the preview, and the preview, like, I mean, it's a preview, who really knows, but they make it seem like it's getting messier and messier, and
Yeah.
maybe even Zach, you know, has said, oh, he's made some mistakes, and this episode, I think, is as obnoxious as Greer was at times. I absolutely think Zach owes Greer an apology.
I do too. I thought he was like kind of weirdly punishing in that Zoom call.
It was such a dick.
Like he was
Oh my
like,
god.
she was like, no, I'm just, you know, and it was the kind of thing where he said, well, you know, I understand he's saying, I'm trying to find my wife. This is the end of the year. But then she was like, oh, okay, I got it. I didn't mean to compare. And then he like reiterated it.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted, like,
Like-
as if she didn't understand the first time.
Yeah, I felt bad for her.
He very much became the Bachelor in that moment. I think what we've liked about Zach so far this season, his ability to just be a guy who is appreciative of the opportunity to be in a role where he gets to meet all these great women and see if there's a connection with any of them to find a fiance.
Right.
And in that moment, you saw Zach, who's like, I'm the Bachelor,
Yeah, right.
you know, and this is my journey.
Yeah.
And I'm taking this very seriously. And how dare you question my integrity? Like, if this was a date where Zach and Greer were in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to watch this date, Zach would look like the biggest prick in the world. in
Yeah,
that
she
moment.
would have, and because the power dynamic is a little off. Greer in that moment would have been like, "All right, I'm going to get my person. I think that'll be it." you
Yeah,
know,
could you imagine
if it was
be-
just a regular
Yeah,
date? You'd
could
be
you
like, "Why
imagine
are you talking to me like
yeah,
that?"
like you imagine a date where all of a sudden, like, you know, a date, usually 2 people are nervous, right?
Yeah, of course.
You know, and maybe one person more nervous than the other. In this case, Greer, you know, whether maybe there's a power dynamic there, who knows? Maybe because she was just excited about going on a date.
yeah.
She had a crush on him for a long time.
Of course.
So she's more nervous than Zach, and Zach's just like, hey, this girl, I don't know, she had slid in my DM, I don't know, go on a date with her. And she's all nervous, and she's just like, he tells a story about like, yeah, I was really bummed out about something. And she just, all Greer was trying to do was relate to her.
Right.
Him. She was just trying to empathize and connect with him on any level, and they're both in sales, and she was just
Yeah.
trying to say, hey,
That's
I know what
frustrating.
it's like to be frustrated, and I
Yeah.
know what it's like to have a goal, and I know what it's like not to meet that goal, and I know what it's like, you know.
And to feel like you're letting people down and
And
all this stuff. you
that's
know?
all she was
It's
doing.
A very fair comparison.
Totally. And can you imagine being on a date where like some guy goes to the girl and just makes her feel like an idiot and makes her feel like bad for like literally just trying to empathize with him?
Yeah.
That guy would be thought of as the biggest asshole in the world. And that's what Zach did to Greer on a Zoom call, all
I
under the
know.
guise of like, you're not here for the right reasons because you're talking about a job and I'm talking about my love life. And it's
Yeah,
like, fuck
yeah.
you, Zach.
I got a sense from a couple things that he was saying that he felt, you know, obviously initially he felt sad to be sick and missing stuff. And then it started to feel like he was like, I'm feeling better. I'm still having to be quarantined. I don't like these rules, you know, like there was a
Yeah.
little bit of like sort of a childish, like now I want to, and also not necessarily just because of COVID, but because he doesn't want to, I feel like on some level he wants to be like a good guy. He wants to he doesn't want to interrupt the flow of the season. He doesn't want to miss out on all these dates. He knows it's bad. So he's already feeling a little bit like bad for not living up to his own idea of what he should be doing. and he wants to get back as soon as possible, and then someone says something and he's already like primed to fight back or something. I don't know. It was very surprising.
It was surprising.
I've never seen him talk like that.
It was kind of weird, and we all make mistakes. We all overreact. We all could be triggered. I think my point is I genuinely think he owes her an apology. And if I ever get a chance to talk to Zach, that's my first question. Have you apologized to Greer for you were a dick to her. You were an absolute asshole to Greer for no reason, and you put her on blast and made her feel shitty about herself and stupid and made her feel like she did something wrong for doing absolutely nothing wrong. I am just curious, given the position of power that you've been given as the Bachelor, have you apologized to Greer?
It
would be a simple apology.
Right. It kind
And
of
I
felt
think
like
he
he was
would.
like mansplaining love to her.
Yeah.
Like, like he was like, it's actually nothing like sales. And it's like, dude. And he
But she never even said it was. Like, she never said this is the exact same thing. It was more so, I can kind of understand how you feel. It had more to do with getting COVID at an inopportune time
And missing
than it
out.
did about love.
And he could have asked her, like, hey, could you say more about that? Like, wait, I don't know what you mean. Like, say, like, he could have, if he really wanted to, like, be that nitpicky, like, he could have addressed it in a way that was not so, like, rude.
You know,
It was so-
that is actually, that's one thing that I wonder about Zach sometimes. And I always leave a whole big chunk of judgment because I know things
We
get
don't know these
edited
people.
out
Yeah.
and all this stuff. But there have been times where like someone has shared something with him, and instead of going deeper with them and saying, tell me more about that, he's just sort of said, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for being vulnerable. And then we move on. Now that could be an editing thing because there's lots of like, they can't just have every long conversation. But he seems like a guy who listens generally and is empathetic and cares. So there have been times though where I've like, go deeper, ask one more question.
Even on his date with Gabi, that would have been a good, when she was saying, my last relationship really robbed me of this confidence and how I looked and whatever.
What happened there?
Even as simple as saying, how have you overcome that? Or how since then have you, how can I help you? There's so many follow-ups.
You don't have to go deep into like the trauma or whatever it was, but like how did you go through?
Yeah.
What was your anything else about that journey you care to share?
Definitely could be edited out.
It could be. That's why I even hesitate to say it.
But you would think you'd see a little bit more. I don't think you could totally blame the edit because there's a pattern with Zach that he doesn't really have a lot of follow-ups in these types of moments. My favorite Zach line of the episode was when Gabi was like, yeah, the little things are such a big deal. And Zach's like, yeah, the little things
are huge.
And I was like, that's it? There's no follow-up to that? Like, when the huge things are huge, too. You know? Like, the medium things are also huge. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
I know. I love the
little things are so huge. Like,
that was the best.
What?
One of my favorite Zach lines of the episode was when Gabi, when they're on the fragrance portion of the date, which spectacular, amazing date idea. Like,
Absolutely.
so shout out producers. That was so fantastic. And Gabi's like, it smells like Christmas mixed with weed. And Zach goes, marijuana?
Just for the viewers at home, weed is a...
Zach is such a guy. He's just a guy.
Say more. I'm intrigued.
But everything...
Follow-up question.
It's just... yeah, it's not like he's... He's not like overly masculine. He is a masculine guy, but like I don't even mean like some toxic masculinity. He's just a guy. It's just like in any situation, if you ask yourself, what would a guy do? That's what Zach does.
Yeah.
It's just like he's just in every facet of the world, he's a guy.
I could. Totally
I don't know how else to articulate that, but he's just.
He does get his gentleman
the most
on, though.
guy of all time.
He's very good at that.
But sometimes he gets his...
he's polite and he's respectful. He's just such a guy. There's no like ripple effect outside of like
guide him.
Yeah, it's just like what would a guy do? I'm gonna do that. Like I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. He's just such a guy. In the most ordinary guyish way.
Take a shot every time Nick says guy.
I don't know.
It's just a guy.
He is.
The way he dances, the way he jokes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He's just a guy.
You know what though? I believe in my heart of hearts that he has other dances within him that he's too afraid to share on camera.
Probably.
I feel like there's something about him that I'm like, let loose, let it go, like go crazy. I feel like he wants to be like the perfect person, and in so many ways he is. He's very lovely. He's very warm. He's got an incredible voice. But there's a part of me that's like, who I want to know like some of the rougher. I want to know some of the other things about him. I sometimes I'm like, I want to get into him because I really liked him last season. Like I thought that date that they went on in the movie theater, I was really moved by his whole journey with that.
I think he's a very earnest guy.
He is very earnest.
I think overall he's a high character stand-up guy. I think he genuinely wants to do the right thing. Like he desires to.
Yeah, exactly.
And that matter. Like I think that's great.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
But it kind of goes to what you're saying about how he's always thinking, what is the right thing to do here? And that's an awesome that's an awesome train of thought most of the time. But sometimes it's just like, but what do you want to do?
Right,
like
exactly.
in more like creative spaces. Because I feel like dancing and laughter are two things where I'm like, nobody should make fun of anybody for either of those things. I
completely
no
agree.
matter what it is. And it feels like Zach is dancing like someone who's scared
that
he'll get
someone's
made
gonna make
fun of.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like I would love to just say, Zach, no cameras. We're going to play a bunch of different kinds of music and just move your body and however the music moves you. And
I want to go to this Jason Ritter kind of
retreat
Yeah.
kind of life coaching seminar. Just how to like be yourself.
Literally no one's watching. So like do it. Do the thing. No, I do really like Zach. And it was fun. Like the perfume part of the date was super fun. Also, it's to me, it felt like in hindsight a little bit like a mystery, like which of these people gave Zach COVID.
Yeah.
Was it the perfume guy? Was it the lady who came in? Was it the butler?
A corgi?
Or one of the corgis? Yeah, could have been one of the corgis.
And how did Gabi not get it?
They never addressed. They're like, by the way, he has COVID, and Gabby's just sitting there going, like with all the other ladies.
Like, okay.
Real close.
Yeah, real close.
I not be?
Yeah, should I? Does anyone want to tell me to quarantine?
I'm sure they're testing regularly there.
I bet. It just
so.
was weird to not
was
acknowledge
weird,
that
yeah.
she was with him and kissing him.
Yeah.
And doing lots of COVID unsafe.
They really kind of threw Zach under the bus before they announced he had COVID, and also like the fact that they made it like the word "stood up" was used so much in this episode, as if like Zach had anything to do with this. They got these women dressed for the group date, knowing that Zach.
Are they on such a crazy schedule that they can't be like, let's wait until he gets better?
They could have.
It was weird.
They could have woke up
set
and
them
like
all up
it's
like that.
totally possible that Zach woke up. I mean, because like when I was watching the episode, I'm like, Zach, you're like what a like because they made it. He's like, yeah, I just feel a little jet lagged and I'm like tired. I'm like, get off your fucking ass and go on a
Get some
date.
coffee.
Like I remember, like because you're so tired as the Bachelor, you're exhausted and you feel like shit the whole time.
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, you're jet lagged and you're just mailing it in. I thought this was more of a like, this was a great idea by producers. Be like, because if I'm thinking if the producers for any group date at this point would have been like, hey, like you can go on this group date during the day or you can like chill.
Right.
I'd be like, I'm gonna chill.
Yeah,
like who's
exactly.
on this date? Like, especially if one of his favorites was on there.
Right.
Oh, I'll just go to the night portion. And so the whole day they're making these women think like maybe he'll be here tonight. Maybe not. They clearly knew he wasn't gonna be available. And then they make it, and then they edit it as if Zach's standing them up and leading them on. And like Zach probably had nothing. Well, Zach definitely had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he's not.
And they got all dialed up for the cocktail party of the night portion, and fully knowing that Zach wasn't going to be a part of that.
Oh, that was painful.
Because I think you saw people's literal trauma responses there of like abandonment. Because it was such a like, I think this person is going to show up for me. They've disappointed me earlier, so I'm even more like in this like cycle of being so invested in it. And I really think we saw like, people's inner child respond to Zach not showing up on the date.
I completely agree. And it had nothing to do with any promise that Zach had made.
And he would have been on that date had he been able
to. Of course.
Yeah, they really edited it though. Like he was just like slightly under the weather at first. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But then obviously they dropped the COVID bomb.
Yeah. That made more sense.
And thank God for Kaity that she can articulate how serious it is.
Yeah.
Kaity, I know you're a nurse.
The only one.
Kaity, I know you're a nurse. You know how serious this is. All right, bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How do you think do you think Kaity was the one who came up with the care basket idea and was the first person to ask producers about it?
Maybe.
Or do you think they came to her and said, hey,
Kaity, we know you're a nurse.
50-50.
You're the nurse who's the front runner.
50-50. It's entirely possible she went to them and said, I'd like to do something nice for Zach. That's entirely possible. Probable. Yeah, she probably took the initiative, and then they helped facilitate it from there.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain it had something to do with, I want to do something nice for Zach, maybe a care package, and then they helped her set it up.
Poor Catherine.
It is
the other nurse just like
I know.
fully getting
Excuse me.
bulldozed
I
over.
am also.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny.
Oh, Catherine's
like I
a nurse
think
too?
with
Yeah.
all the COVID stuff, you started to get more, or at least for me, some of the magic was started to feel a little bit more of the producer's hand. I was like, Zach wasn't in there putting that Big Ben under the pillow for charity. I know that never happens, but I was like, for a second, I was like, he shouldn't have been in that room coughing all over the place.
Sorry about canceling on the date. Here is a souvenir from a souvenir shop that we grabbed at
But
the
a
airport.
large one. It's going
A
to take
very
up half
large
of
one.
your suitcase.
Exactly. Put your bag over the weight limit.
Yeah.
Zach
There's a
explained-
pretty
They're
hefty fee.
vigilant,
dumbbell.
and they are vigilant in
Yeah.
London. If your bag is like half a pound over, they will like be like, take it out.
That souvenir itself is at least 5 pounds.
Yeah.
This is not,
brutal.
not Zach explaining the joke.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Hey, because we didn't have enough time,
And
clocks, and then Ben.
How have you been?
Ben. Because
Oh, yeah.
Ben, Big Ben. Ha, 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 ha,
I didn't even notice that last.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was really brutal.
Oh my gosh.
He's such a guy.
So
Such a
funny.
guy.
Such a guy. Again, obviously they want you to like Kaity because if it was
Oh my gosh.
Greer,
The flashbacks to their museum date. I'm like, that was 2 weeks ago. We know.
I
like,
know.
well, that
It was giving Susie Clock Tower moment.
I mean, look, come on. Their lead got COVID. I mean, like,
I know. What are they gonna?
what are they gonna do?
They got to fill some time
They gotta
here.
fill some time.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Greer or Mercedes or Kylie put together that basket, I guarantee you they would have had different music. They
Right.
would have been more of like an awkwardness music
Yeah.
of like, you know, and then Zach being like, I don't really know them, and it's like kind of weird, but like, thanks.
Greer
Like,
pushes like an annual sales report underneath the door. Like,
Yeah.
hope you're feeling better.
She should have. That would have been
Kisses.
great.
But yeah, they clearly want you to like Kaity because yeah, they all it was that moment without, you know, the women wondering where she was or anything
yeah,
like
that's right.
that,
I didn't
or
even
her,
think
like
about
her, how did she find his hotel room? Like when I snuck out, quote unquote snuck out, like they had to film me going to the front desk and pretending that I like got her random name. I literally had the people on the internet being like, "That's so unsafe that you gave him like his room number." Like,
whoa.
oh my god, I can't believe this hotel is doing this. And it's just like people are so dumb and literal. But yeah, they didn't show any of that, so it just goes to show how much they want you to like Kaity.
Yeah.
And she's very likable.
She is very
Potential
very
next bachelorette.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he picks Gabi, and then Catherine and Kaity are top. Catherine, Kaity, and Gabi are your top 3, right?
Jess is top 4. Jess
Why do you
is,
say why?
I don't. There's just something about the two of them.
I
I
think
like
Zach's-
Ariel though.
No, but here's
yeah.
that's what I was gonna say before. I think when I brought up the whole like Zach owes Greer an apology, I wonder if Zach in the next few weeks is going to buy into his bachelor bullshit a little too much. You know, because I think Zach's been leading on Jess.
I mean, I've seen in a lot of dates, Zach has been he's been very good and effective at validating a lot of people and being like, I think there's something here, and giving people these little morsels that make them go, ooh, maybe it's me. And so I do feel like he's going to be in trouble the next couple
was it
weeks.
Yeah, because was it Greer, when Greer was talking about how like this date was like tailor made for her, and then
Oh,
she
yeah.
was saying how like on all the other dates, Zach's always telling all the women like, I picked this date specifically for you, and I'm watching me like liar,
Right.
bullshit. Like they don't.
Right. Okay.
They don't. These dates are planned so far in advance.
Right. Exactly.
The lead
Long
has
before we knew about your tattoo.
the lead has some
Yeah.
say in like some. I would
Really?
say the lead has 20% say on who
That's
goes on what one-on-one.
fascinating.
But
I
how
did
do they
not
know to
that.
put the winners on the shopping date?
Well, because early on, like week
Is
one.
that a thing? I haven't noticed that pattern. They put the winners
Well, the
usually
last
on the shopping date.
two, the last two have been the final
sure.
rose pick.
I mean, like, yeah, because
Oh.
like, so week one, like every week they're checking in with the lead. They literally are ranking, you know, like who are your 4 favorite, who are your 6 favorite.
Oh wow.
So week one, he ranked them for the producers. These are my top ones. every week they check in with a new like kind of ranking. And then at this point, he knows all their names and it's more of a conversation rather than like a meeting. Because early on, it's literally like, all right, like rank them for us.
Right.
And based off of that ranking, they'll start, zeroing in on who they want on the one-on-one. Now, someone like Brooklyn or someone like Christina, who had the first one-on-one, those were like predetermined before Zach ever got out of the limo night one. Like
because of their stories.
Because of their stories, and they wanted to, especially the first one-on-one is very much like a setup to like either, get to know the women or help us know the Bachelor more. Like on the first one-on-one with Zach with Christina, it was like his fear of being a father potentially. So there's a story they create with that, right? With Brooklyn, it's very possible that she was going to get that one-on-one for the story, right? And again, every lead only really likes 3 or 4 sincerely. So they're like, these are the people I really want to go on a one-on-one with. And so that, to your point, Allie, they'll be like, hey, well, this is a great day for connecting with someone. Like someone you really want to get to know and someone you think you have feelings for and someone you like. Like this is the type of date that you get to know someone versus another date where it's just, you're four-wheeling in mud, and like that's fun, but you're not talking and connecting, you're not hanging out, you don't get to goof around and shit like that. So like that's when I say about 20%, because like as long as the lead gets to let the producers know who they really like, and they definitely want the lead to make connections, they want the lead to fall in love, so they're focused on that. But other than that, it doesn't make a difference whether the lead goes on a date with you week 1 or week 6. Like only a certain number of women or men will get a one-on-one, and then they'll start having the second or in the 2-on-1s or things like that. And so he's definitely not tailor-made. He's not picking them specifically for the women. So if Zach is saying that to all the women, he is lying to them. Like, and whatever. The Bachelor has to lead people on. You do.
Right, of course.
It's a shitty part of the job. The Bachelorette has to do it. The Bachelor has to do it. Of course. And all I'm saying is I call a little bullshit. And it's fine because it's part of the job. But when Zach starts playing Bachelor rather than playing Zach, I think it's an interesting wrinkle to note. Right. And so and I think with Jess, I think he's leading her on. I think he is saying things. I think he likes her. But at this point, I don't think she's going to get a one-on-one. I mean,
I just think about that group date where he specifically pulled her to validate her. That wasn't her pulling him. That wasn't her interjecting. I felt like he made a very intentional effort.
It's a fine line between making all these women feel seen and special and leading them on.
I mean, there's an interesting thing that happens, and Zach's not the only one to do this. I've seen it a couple of times in seasons, but where it's like, what will happen is, especially for like a super nice guy, there'll be a thing where someone is feeling awful, someone is feeling weird, and they need some kind of validation from them, and either they give that to them and they have them stay there, or that's a moment where they go, you know what, I'm realizing that I can't give it to you, and they like send them home. And I feel like it's he's erred on the side of giving validation more than he's erred on the side of like I can't give this to you, and so that's why I think he may be in for some choppy waters ahead, because he's taken the nicer, easier in the moment route a couple of times.
It's gonna backfire,
and it may backfire.
Like lead to not the same scale as Clayton, but like a similar like overpromise, can't help but underdeliver.
It is what it is.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, exactly. If you overpromise, you can't help but underdeliver.
Do we think Charity is scheduled for next week? Do you think they're going to make her wait a week and like toy with her?
Like on the season that it was happening.
I'd be shocked if she doesn't get a one-on-one. That'd be a bad look.
Yeah, I think they should give her one-on-one as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
because it's one thing like, oh, we all didn't get to go on the group date, but to get so excited that you've been chosen for the one-on-one and then have that, But I know, yeah, it's tough when almost everybody. It's got to be weird for Gabi too, who got the only date of the.
Yeah, because the group date didn't happen.
Yeah.
Then Charity's date didn't happen. She's just sitting there with her Hermes and
Yeah,
Louis
and her
Vuitton.
one rose.
Yeah.
And her Muniz. Yeah, John.
Yeah, I think he picks Gabi at this point.
I mean, for some reason, I feel like Kaity is.
It was.
I don't know, but that date with Gabi was so special, and she did that little cute nose thing where she like kissed him and then like rubbed his nose, which really won me over.
Do you think he has sex with Brooklyn next episode? They make it seem like he does.
Oh yeah, they did make
Really?
it seem like
When he was like, they showed a.
like we're gonna take it to the next level.
And he was like, it wasn't a moment of lust. It was a moment of love or some corny line or some shit.
Yeah.
And it was.
And then it seems like other people are upset with him, and he's right.
Yeah, I mean, who really knows? But it made it seem like he hooked up with Brooklyn.
I wonder if
Now, I don't think he did.
I wonder if they did a fake out where it was actually Kaity on the bed. Because, like, we see Brooklyn talking and it's like, okay,
Maybe.
blonde. And then we see, like, a
Could
blonde
be.
on the bed.
They do that all the time. Those
Maybe.
tricksters.
Yeah.
Well, Kaity is definitely prime for a second one-on-one for sure.
Yeah, after the care package, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think Catherine.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
show Catherine getting a little upset.
I think
They
you're
did,
right.
yeah. They
Like,
showed a
the
lot of
more
people getting
the
upset.
season goes on, I think you're right of, like, once Kat stops feeling like the front runner, we're really going to see.
A
Another
different side
side?
of her.
Yeah.
I've been saying this since week 1. I
Yeah.
just feel like there's.
I
Yeah.
could see that. I
There's-
could totally see that.
I could see her losing it towards the end.
It's tough if you've had a lot of like a certain experience in your life of how people react. I mean, I don't know her life, but just in general, it feels like the Bachelor sometimes feels like the Olympics of like people who were very charismatic and beautiful and all these things. Now they're all coming together and they're going, oh, I've never been with this many other people who now I feel a level of competition that I haven't felt before. That's me totally projecting. I have no idea, but it is interesting to see people who seem unused to not being chosen or selected and having that experience and going, this is completely alien and unfamiliar to me. I've been the one to not choose.
Yeah, it's like wherever I go, I'm a big fish. Like, I've moved pond to pond to pond, and I'm still the big fish. And now I'm in the biggest
yeah.
pond, and they brought in the other huge fish. And it's like,
Exactly.
I thought I was the only big fish like
right,
this.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you see that with all of them.
Yeah,
I'm looking now. Charity's a child and family therapist, which I think interesting because she also maybe that's the why, but I've noticed that she seems to be involved in a lot of the drama. She's usually the one talking to one of the women who's upset.
talking
Mhm.
Greer.
Or she
through
was
her
involved
feelings.
in the Kylie
Anastasia.
drama.
Well, because
Oh, I forgot about
Kylie
that,
was the
yeah.
one saying, I didn't hear it directly, but Charity did.
And
that
Charity was more
yeah.
than happy to.
She was the one who had
Verify.
heard it.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
forgot about
Yeah.
And she led a grounding exercise at one point. I think maybe it was when Gabi was
Charity's
having a
one
little
smart
meltdown.
cookie.
Yeah.
I love
I-
Charity. She's awesome.
I don't trust Charity.
Oh, really?
Oh,
What?
Oh,
I don't trust her.
interesting.
she's
Yeah.
smart but not trustworthy.
Yeah, I'm sure she's lovely.
No,
in
I
general.
feel like she is. I feel like she's a wholesome, genuine gal.
I'm talking in Bachelor context, so I'm sure
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
all wonderful.
yeah.
I just, I think she's smart.
Yeah.
You think she's strategic?
I think she's far more strategic than she wants you to believe.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
We
And I don't,
we shall see.
I don't even think that's a bad thing. I'm a strategic guy, but yeah, I think she is clever.
I just think like she has this certain warmth to her that it feels like Kaity has as well, and then it
Mhm.
kind of seems like Gabi like there's this certain like it feels like Zach's type is like women who just have like whose eyes really light up and are like kind of enthusiastic and animated, and like that's not to say that, and I'm sure everybody has the capacity to do that when they're talking about someone like something they're passionate about, but I just feel like there's something about her energy that feels really comparable with his other front runners
Yeah.
where I'm like she fits right in.
Best friend energy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think she's my top 4 Charity.
You think Charity, Gabi, Kaity, Catherine?
Yeah.
Charity yeah, I think so too.
All right.
I think Charity's gonna get the next one-on-one because that would just be really bad. And then I think next week you can get Charity get a one-on-one, and the other one-on-one's going to go to someone who's already had a one-on-one.
Okay, so who do we think? Jason, do you have a prediction for who that one-on-one would be to?
Oh gosh,
It's Kaity
maybe
or Catherine.
Kaity. Yeah, I think it might be
It's gonna be
Kaity
Kaity,
because
yeah.
that
Or
would be
Brooklyn.
the most drama. Kaity is she seems like such a warm, like favorite amongst the ladies. Like
Mhm.
with Gabi, she's like, look at this, and she's so nice and she's so lovely, and I feel like maybe the producers could think like, let's put a little bit of a target on her back and
I could
make her a focal point for some
Yeah.
jealousy.
Yeah, because it feels like they're doing everything they can. They're like walking in your pajamas with disheveled hair.
I
You're
know.
so nice. We're pulling out all the big guns to see if we can get you be like the target
to
of the house.
threaten the other. Yeah. I think they could be her. It could totally.
It could
her.
be Brooklyn. I think
Could be Brooklyn.
I think
yeah.
Brooklyn is very much a producer favorite rather than a Zach favorite.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
I think she has a lot of Bachelorette energy. Knowing the people who make these decisions, I could see why Brooklyn stands out to them.
Or Bachelor in
Very
Paradise,
blonde,
Paradise
very-
energy too.
Respectfully, have you ever considered shutting the fuck up? Like says stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh
it
my gosh,
has
I forgot that. That
has
was
like
amazing.
Has a bite to her.
Yeah.
Has like can like snark back and
Have you ever considered
rodeo
literally
racer, but like also like very kind of has those southern manners. Like
Yeah.
she is dripping in Bachelorette kind of
Yeah.
Energy.
So
Also, truly incredible considering like what she came through. Like I would have never have. For some reason, like her personality, she doesn't seem vulnerable or like I don't know. I just am so impressed by her that she came through that and then is all of these like snarky like you
Yeah.
know things. It's just awesome that I mean people are just so resilient and incredible and
And I
Mhm.
think it like challenges this idea that like people who are survivors of domestic violence have a certain personality type
Exactly.
and are meek
Exactly,
and
yeah.
are quiet and
Right.
are in some way like have character traits that might make them more in some ways like susceptible. Where like I
Yes.
think it's such a good embodiment of like these powerful,
Yeah.
vivacious, like
Yeah,
incredible people
usually,
can end
yeah.
up in
And
these
she was-
horrific
yeah.
situations.
and
She was
usually
like,
what
I was-
happens in those
It
situations.
was so interesting too. She had enough awareness to be like, I ended up with someone who was like my dad. You know,
Yeah.
like it was such a. I don't know. I think she's awesome.
If you talk to Darlene, my therapist, she would say that that's fairly common in a sense, and
Mhm.
and the fact that Brooklyn mentioned her father, and so you have Brooklyn. This kind of adult Brooklyn is this kind of independent, charismatic, snarky, playful person, but that like 10-year-old Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Who maybe experienced a lot of trauma from her father, but when she was going through her own trauma in that past toxic relationship, more reverted to 10-year-old Brooklyn rather than 25-year-old Brooklyn or things like that. And so to your point, Amanda, I think that's where you can see what seems like, how could this person who seems so capable and willing to stand up for themselves allow this to happen? Well, some people experience these terrible traumas as children, and when they get triggered by this trauma, their brain literally goes back to that kind of child version
Mhm.
of themselves. They become the children experiencing the trauma, and I think that's where you see those stark differences.
Yeah. Well, and also I feel like incredibly powerful how she had as a young girl that she never wanted to be with anyone like your dad, and to have that knowledge, it's also sort of goes to how insidious some of these relationships are, because none of them start out awful and abusive. They start out with like love bombing and all these things, and slowly you get into it. So amazing that she at a certain point was able to recognize like, oh wow, this was a bit of a straight line. I didn't even know like that I had gotten myself into this exact same situation that I promised myself I wouldn't, because this is the person that I loved at one point, but now I'm being woken up by police, and I'm and incredible that she just had that moment of like, I got to get out no matter what. I just got to leave, and but yeah, it's yeah. Anyway,
Fascinating
Heavy
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
Heavy stuff. So those are my final four. I think Brooklyn's a wild card for top four. at this point, Ariel, Greer, Allie, I just think they're Jess. I think they're just kind of up next on the chopping block, so to speak.
Yeah, I
There could be a surprise with one of them. Like I could picture, the classic. I'm going to take you on a one-on-one and then send you home on a one-on-one.
Oh,
That hasn't really happened yet, so I could see that happening with maybe it's a Jess
Greer?
or Greer.
Ooh.
Something like that.
I could also see Greer coming back somehow.
She is our first impression rose.
She was the first
That's
impression
true.
rose. So.
Zach hates her.
I
Yeah.
mean, that call was not good. Yeah.
Zach hates her.
Yeah.
He completely overacted, and I agree with you. Is that I think Zach was just not in the right headspace and stressed and frustrated and caged in like a tiger in that room. And unfortunately, Greer took the wrath of his frustrations, but
But he wouldn't have done that
but he
to one
wouldn't
of
have
the
done
other
that to one of the other women. It was just like, I'm kind of annoyed by you. You've been annoying me. I regret giving you the first impression rose. Like literally,
Right.
I in the back of his mind, I bet he's thinking, he's projecting that frustration onto Greer. I think he hates Greer. Not like
Greer.
in a literal sense, but I
No,
think
no,
He's over Greer.
he's over Greer. He's like he's waiting to send her home.
It is true that like if Kaity said, "Oh, if I got COVID in my sales," he jumped down her throat like that.
Yeah.
He would have been like, she's so empathetic. She's always looking to connect
Yeah,
with
Katie
me.
could be like, like when I was like nursing and like we just like had this like goal and whatever, and I was so bummed and blah, blah. He's like, oh really? Wow, what a great story.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like, I just want you to know that like my love life is like not just like some fucking job, and I just want you to know that. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, I just want you to know that. Like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure you understand. I haven't mansplained it enough.
Yeah.
I think there probably is also there's got to be some kind of fear that as the Bachelor, people will think he's not there for the right reasons.
I think
Whatever.
everyone-
So like, I'm sure there's some defensive in general. Of like, I am
Yeah.
really trying to find love. It's not just a reality show. Like,
This isn't just for money.
yeah, exactly. Or-
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, that's again me projecting. If I was the Bachelor ever.
I do think it was really interesting to see the women on the group date without Zach, seeing the way they behave, because Greer was like super charismatic. She was like chatting, having a great time, doing the like when in Rome of it all. And so I was interested to be like, oh, I wonder if there's ever a way on the show where they could have like the Bachelor spy on people. Do you remember? So they were all at the pub after going on a day of touring the city.
Yeah.
And Greer was just like really chatting it up with the bartender and like having a grand old time. And I was like, this is something where I think that's such an interesting data point of like when they are not in a room with the Bachelor, how do they behave? How much do they turn on the charm, etc.?
I all of a sudden in that daytime one, because they weren't yet feeling like Zach, they had kind of accepted after the rainy bus ride, they'd kind of accepted that he wasn't going to be there. I was like, what if they all just realize that they have so much more fun with each other?
Probably. Oh yeah, that reminded me of
And
another
then they're
thing.
just like, should we be here or should we just split off and have a fun vacation?
I love that Zach was saying, he's just like, these women must be having a terrible time without me.
And then it cuts to them like,
It's like, okay,
Woo!
sure. Yeah. I'm
Like
sure.
they're on an all expense paid for like girls trip.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It makes sense that he is saying that. Also, there was a part where actually when we were watching it, Natalie laughed out loud. And I actually am going to defend Zach here. He was on a date with Gabi. And he said to Gabi, it's just like, you're just like not nervous around me. And I think that's like really cool. And like Natalie just like laughed, just thinking like, of course, like, because it comes across as kind of a douchey thing to say.
Right,
It's
right.
like, oh, it's just like so not nervous around me. It's like you can be normal around me because like I'm the Bachelor. And it's just like, and I empathize with Zach in that because I do think a lot of these, I actually think it was a very genuine thing to say.
Yeah, he's a sincere.
Because I think even, for example, I think there are women on this season for Zach that would never date Zach in the real world.
Right.
I don't think they would look at him twice.
Right.
I won't. I think even those women on dates act nervous around Zach because regardless of whether they would date him in the real world, he is still the Bachelor, and he needs to like them for them to go far or to be on this show.
Right.
So even if it's women who they would never admit it, but deep down they're telling their friends like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but I don't think I'd ever dated him. It's like they're not being themselves, right? They are they're
Right.
playing a role, and I think they get nervous, or they're not. They just want Zach to pick them in a sense of, if Zach picks me, I get to go further. And with Gabi, I think he feels like he's actually on a date with someone.
A genuine,
Like he is actually getting to
Yeah.
know someone, and he feels like that Gabi sees him as Zach and not as the
Yeah.
Bachelor. And I think, despite it coming across as douchey, I think, having been in his position, I think it came from a very genuine
I agree.
place
I think
to actually say that.
Yeah.
Because even the women who might not date him, I still think read as insincere or read as nervous around him or thinking of the right thing to say. And I do think Zach is smart and intuitive, and I think he picks up on that. And I think he has with some of the other women.
But also Jess has like genuinely been like shakingly nervous around him. You know, like there have been
Yeah.
some times where she was, you know,
Like mouse energy.
Yeah, exactly. Which I connect with. I was also a shaker back in my day. But yeah, so I think like just that energetic feeling of being relaxed with someone where their nervous energy isn't making you nervous or making you feel like you have to, you know, kind of help them with their nervousness. I felt like with Gabi that came from it. If you take it out of context, it sounds bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think within it, he was like, I'm enjoying this level of comfort that I feel with.
I
you.
don't think he meant it as in a douchey way.
Yeah.
And the heart-to-heart they were having, I think so often we talk about these Bachelor sob stories and upping the ante and how it's like getting more and more like, how much trauma have you survived? And I thought this one was just felt very grounded and relatable, where it wasn't like, we've never heard of anything like this before. It was just a very, I think, real, authentic, relatable thing to bring up, and something that it felt pretty appropriate to bring up at this stage of dating. Like definitely vulnerable and definitely upping the ante, but not this kind of out of the blue, here's my life story. And so it just kind of added to,
and it came out of the like her experience on the date. It was like, I
Right.
wouldn't even be talking about this, but you looked at me in a way that made me feel a way
I didn't
that I
need the
haven't felt
mirror
in it.
because you were so
and
That was
he's,
kind of a pretty thing to say.
I
and
know,
he
it's
stood up
sweet.
every time she came out.
Yeah, he's
Every
very
single time she came out, he stood up.
he's a real gentleman. It's,
He's very into Gabi. Yeah.
Yes.
I think he.
And I thought he was sleeping on Gabi for a long. I was like, she seems awesome.
I think
and-
that's all edit. Yeah.
and
It was
then-
clear that they had a connection they weren't showing us.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think they made Gabi look a little nutty
To throw us off
to
the scent.
throw us off.
That
And
makes
she
sense.
was acting that way because we're like, why are you acting this way? You haven't talked to him yet.
right. Yeah.
And I think she clearly had talked to him, and she clearly had some great conversations, and they just flat out didn't show them or
Okay.
showed snippets of them
All
because
right.
there's clearly a rapport with them.
Yeah, there was,
Yeah.
especially on this date. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think
Oh,
we
Gabi.
hit the predictions and everything. Anything
I think so.
else?
Good,
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Jason?
Good luck to them all. They're all lovely.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when like the person and I know this is a producer thing too, but every once in a while a bachelorette or a bachelor will just like a villain will pop up and they'll just be like, bye. It's like send them out. I'm saying villain as like shorthand,
Sure.
but like someone who's causing drama or issues in the house. And it's always interesting because you get into sort of more subtlety of like jealousy or very human things that are conflict oriented, but not like, oh, I think this might be not a good person.
Like it's much more satisfying, or it's more like high stakes and intense watching women be mad at Kaity than it is watching them be mad at like Christina or
Right,
someone who has like a
exactly.
very obvious kind of like brash personality where you could see how it would rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like that vintage, we're going back to the love stories, vintage Bachelor, where there is inherent drama. And if you get really invested in all these love stories, like they're not all going to be happy endings.
I'm enjoying
Exactly.
the season.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
I
too.
think it's nice to see the love stories. Like, I like the drama for sure, but I feel like we're getting to know some of these people.
Mhm.
I think it's going to only lead to a better second half of the season.
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Jason, thanks so much for coming. Always
Thanks for
great to
having
see
me.
you.
It's always great to see
It's
you
an
too.
absolute pleasure. We'll have to have your wife
Now
back. Yeah.
yeah. She's
Okay.
she's into it.
Next time you come on, when you're in town, I look forward to having the couple's reaction.
Oh yeah. She's good.
Did you get her into it?
No, she got me into it.
She got you into it.
Yeah, I had, there were other people that had tried to get me into it and I never did. And then she got me into it, and my introduction to the show was Juan Pablo's season. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize this is just like brutal, like emotional carnage where people are like, I'm feeling like you don't love me. Like, all right, bye. I was like, whoa, what is this show? I've been sleeping on it. And so she got me into it, and then it really just like hooks you in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you back. Thanks so much. Glad to see you're doing so well. Always a pleasure to see you.
I'm so excited. And congratulations on your book. I can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you. Well,
yeah.
you can grab a copy. It doesn't really apply to you, but
well,
you know,
I have exes.
Okay. There you go. But thank you.
Yeah.
Don't forget, guys, we have another episode of Better Date Than Never Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Thursday. Francesca.
Farrago.
Yeah, she's with us on Thursday, talking about her new show, Perfect Match, and her life. And I'm sure we'll get into Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox and all that fun pop culture gossip that
we love so much. Also,
we love
Viall Files TikTok, to throw it a follow, up and coming.
It's a good follow.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
I follow.
Yeah.
And if you have an update, send it in.
Yeah, send in those updates.
Whether you were shooting your shot on a texting office hours, asking Nick, whatever it was, we'd love to know how you were doing.
And don't forget, we have another update special this Friday. We got some great updates for you. You do not want to miss it. And we have some exciting news coming up in the next week or so about ways to listen to like episodes of Better Days Than Never or get more updates and things like that. We'll be excited to bring that to you shortly. So keep a lookout for that. Anything else? Bye.
Bye.